The world was holding its breath. Inside the glittering glass towers of Global News World Live in Geneva, Switzerland, every camera, every satellite, every earpiece was tuned to one man. Donald J. Trump. The network had promised the biggest live broadcast of the year, an exclusive international interview with the former U.S. president, the man who never shied away from controversy, never backed down, and never walked off quietly. The studio pulsed with energy. Technicians whispered in 5 different languages. The anchor desk gleamed under the cold blue lights. Producers watched the clock. In exactly 3 minutes, the red light would blink on, and the entire planet would be watching. In the control room, the director murmured, "Stay tight on camera 2. He's unpredictable. If he moves, follow him." Outside, the convoy of black vehicles rolled up to the building entrance. Reporters swarmed the streets. Protesters shouted. Supporters waved flags. It wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a global event. Then the doors opened. Trump stepped out, immaculate suit, signature red tie, that familiar smile that didn't just command attention, it demanded it. Flashbulbs exploded. The crowd roared and booed at the same time. Inside, the host waited. Amira Khan, a fearless international journalist known for her sharp mind and calm composure, reviewed her notes one last time. She wasn't afraid of him. Not of his power, not of his history, not of his temper. Her producer leaned in. "Remember, keep him talking. Don't interrupt unless it matters." She smiled faintly. "Trust me, it's going to matter." The studio door opened. Secret Service agents scanned every inch. And then, Trump walked in. The room shifted instantly. Even the air seemed heavier. "Mr. President," Amira said, standing to greet him. "Please," Trump replied, shaking her hand firmly, "call me Donald. I'm among friends here." He sat down, smiling for the cameras. She followed, keeping her tone cool. The red light blinked on. Around the world, from New York to Tokyo, from Islamabad to Berlin, millions of people tuned in. Amira began. "Good evening, and welcome to Global News World Live. Tonight, in an interview seen by more than 200 countries, we sit with a man who changed the course of modern politics, the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump." Trump nodded proudly, his eyes locked on the lens. "It's good to be here," he said. "Everyone's been asking for this. The world wants to hear from me again." Amira smiled politely. "Indeed they do. And tonight, they will." Her tone was calm, but her eyes said something else. Something he didn't notice, not yet. Because behind that calm voice and perfect posture was a question she'd been waiting 6 months to ask. A question that could shake the world. And as the red light glowed brighter, the countdown to chaos had already begun. The red light blinked brighter. Every second of the broadcast was now being transmitted across continents. In control rooms from London to New York, translators whispered in headsets, turning Trump's words into 21 languages. Amira Khan smiled into the camera. "Dangerous. Mr. Trump," she began, "the world's watching tonight because they want clarity, clarity on leadership, truth, and legacy. Let's start simple. After all these years, what do you believe history will remember you for?" Trump chuckled, leaning back in his chair, owning the frame. "Well, Amira, history already remembers me. I rebuilt America's economy, secured our borders, kept the world peaceful. People are saying, everyone's saying, we did things no one thought possible." His voice carried that old magnetism, part charm, part challenge. The crowd watching online lit up with live comments. "Classic Trump. He's back. Let her push harder." Amira nodded politely, letting the noise wash over her. "Some agree," she said softly. "Others say your leadership divided the world more than it united it." The studio's air thickened. The sentence landed like a stone in still water. Trump's grin didn't falter, but his eyes hardened. Only people who lost power complain about division. When you tell the truth, some people get uncomfortable. Amira tilted her head slightly. "Then tonight, let's get uncomfortable together." Behind the cameras, a sound engineer whispered, "Oh, she's going there." Trump crossed his arms. "You know, Amira, Most interviews start with respect. You might want to try that sometime. Her reply was razor calm. Respect is earned, Mr. Trump. So let's earn it, through honesty. A flash of surprise crossed his face. He hadn't expected her to be this direct. The audience sensed it too, the smallest fracture in his composure. Amira leaned forward, her tone measured. Your administration claimed transparency, yet multiple international reports suggested hidden agreements and unreported meetings. Would you say secrecy was part of your strategy, or a mistake? Trump laughed, a short, sharp sound. Fake reports. You people believe anything you read. We were transparent. Maybe too transparent. Everyone wanted a piece of me. She didn't blink. That's not an answer. The words sliced through the set like cold wind. Trump's smile stiffened. Excuse me? You said you were transparent, Amira replied evenly, but you didn't address the meetings or the deals. So I'll repeat, was secrecy part of your strategy? In the control room, the director whispered, she's tightening the loop. Trump straightened in his chair. I was protecting my country. That's not secrecy, that's leadership. Amira held his gaze. Leadership without accountability can look a lot like control. For a moment, everything was silent. No shuffling, no background hum. Just two people, locked in a live, global stare-down. Trump leaned forward, his voice dropping an octave. Let me tell you something, Amira. No journalist, no foreign network, no global elite gets to question my loyalty to America. She didn't flinch. I'm not questioning loyalty, Mr. Trump. I'm questioning truth. The red light above the camera pulsed like a heartbeat. Millions watched, frozen. And somewhere in the control room, the producer whispered the line everyone felt. This isn't an interview anymore, it's a collision. The seconds after her last line stretched into something heavier than silence. Amira Khan had drawn the line in front of the entire planet, and Donald Trump knew it. He smiled again, but the warmth was gone. You're tough, he said, pointing toward her with that familiar confidence. Tougher than most American journalists. I like that. Thank you, she replied softly. But I'm not here to be liked. He laughed, but it was hollow this time. Cameras zoomed in closer. The tension was visible now. The tightening jaw, the flicker behind the eyes, the faint hum of air conditioning filling the void where diplomacy used to live. Amira leaned forward, elbows on the desk. Mr. Trump, before this interview you spoke about legacy and truth. Let's test both. There's a document, recently declassified, confirming that during your final months in office, a private call took place between you and 3 foreign leaders to discuss financial negotiations tied to your family's businesses. Did that conversation happen? The question hit like thunder. In the control room, one of the producers whispered, did she just say declassified? Trump blinked once, slow. Then leaned back. I don't discuss private calls. Presidents talk to leaders all the time. Totally normal. So it happened? It's called diplomacy, he shot back. Amira didn't move. The transcript shows a discussion about transferring construction contracts worth billions. That's not diplomacy, that's business. Trump's tone sharpened. You think you can read a few fake documents and call yourself an investigator? You don't know what those calls were about. Her voice stayed calm, measured, lethal. Then tell us what they were about. He didn't answer. For the first time, the great communicator had nothing clean to say. His eyes darted toward the camera, maybe looking for the comfort of his audience, but even that seemed distant now. Amira pressed once more, gently but firmly. The world's listening, Mr. Trump. A single clear answer could end the speculation right now. He exhaled, slow, deliberate. Then smiled again, too wide, too bright. You know, I came here thinking this was going to be fair. But clearly, this is another hit job. Another setup by the global media. Her expression didn't change. You agreed to every question in advance, sir? The silence that followed was deafening. Viewers across the globe typed furiously into live chats. He's dodging. She's fearless. Is this still live? In Geneva, the air itself felt charged. Even the cameramen were breathing shallowly. Trump leaned forward, eyes blazing. You people are obsessed with attacking success. That's why your ratings are dying. Amira's reply was a whisper, but it cut deeper than a shout. Truth doesn't need ratings, Mr. President. The words lingered like smoke. For the first time, the former leader of the free world looked uncomfortable under the light. His shoulders stiffened. His fingers tapped the table once, twice. Then he smiled again, the kind of smile a fighter gives when he knows he's just been hit. Careful, he said softly. You're walking on thin ice. Amira didn't blink. Thin ice is where truth usually lives. And at that moment, everyone watching knew, this interview had crossed into history. The global feed, the trending hashtags, the millions of eyes. None of it could match the electricity inside that studio. Because one journalist had asked the one question the world never thought anyone would dare ask. And the man known for never backing down was suddenly the one cornered. The studio's silence felt alive, like static before a lightning strike. Millions of viewers across continents were glued to their screens. The translation booths buzzed in chaos. Every interpreter hesitated on one line. Thin ice is where truth usually lives. In the control room, one voice whispered the obvious, he's losing it. Trump straightened, eyes narrowed, jaw tight. His voice dropped into that familiar, commanding tone that once filled rally arenas. Let me tell you something, Amira. The media has been after me since day one. They lied about me when I won, they lied when I built America back up, and they're lying now. You, he pointed toward her, you're part of the same global agenda trying to destroy strong leadership. Amira didn't move. She let the silence burn for 3 whole seconds before speaking. With respect, Mr. Trump, this isn't about leadership. It's about accountability. Trump's hand hit the table, not a slam, but enough to echo through the mic. I'm the most accountable man in politics. Everyone knows that. I took the hardest questions, I faced the toughest enemies. But interviews like this? This is a witch hunt dressed up as journalism. He leaned forward. His voice rose, thick with anger. You know what the problem is? People like you never give credit. You twist everything good into evil. Amira's tone was ice steady. Good men don't need credit, Mr. Trump. They need honesty. Gasps rippled through the crew. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh my God." Trump laughed suddenly, a sharp, forced laugh. You've got guts. I'll give you that. But you're wrong about me, totally wrong. I've done more for the world than any president before me. Ask anyone. Ask the markets, ask the veterans, ask Israel. Everyone respects me. Amira waited for the noise to die down. Then she spoke quietly. Respect isn't measured by applause. It's measured by truth. That line landed like a grenade. Trump shifted in his seat, jaw muscles flexing. You think you're clever, don't you? He said, voice low. You're sitting there reading from your little script, trying to make me look bad. But guess what? People love me. They trust me more than they'll ever trust you. Then give them proof, Amira replied. Name one thing from that call that was misreported. He opened his mouth, then stopped. The hesitation lasted less than a second, but the world saw it. Every newsroom watching the live feed saw it. Every viewer holding their breath saw it. He smiled again, but the edges were cracked now. This interview's over. Amira's voice was calm. You're free to leave, Mr. President. But before you do, understand, history records everything, even silence. Trump froze mid-motion. That line hit harder than anything she'd said all night. The control room went silent. A camera operator mouthed, "Don't cut." Trump looked straight into the lens, his face a mix of fury and pride. You know what history will record? He growled. That I stood against fake news and global propaganda, and I won. He ripped off his microphone. The pop echoed like a gunshot through the studio. The audience gasped. Amira stayed seated, eyes locked on him. He stood up, glared down at her. You'll regret this. Your little show just ended your career. Amira looked up, unshaken. If truth ends my career, it'll be worth it. And then, in front of 200 countries, Donald Trump walked off the set. The red lights still glowed. Cameras still rolled. Amira didn't move. She stared at the empty chair across from her, the chair of a man who had just walked away from the world's biggest interview. Then, softly, she said into the microphone, "We'll be right back." The broadcast cut to black. But around the globe, every network knew this wasn't over. The feed cut to commercial. But inside the Global News World Live studio, no one moved. Technicians sat frozen, eyes glued to the blank monitors. The control room echoed with disbelief. "Did that just happen?" someone whispered. "Did the former president of the United States just walk out on a global broadcast?" Phones started ringing instantly, from Washington, from London, from networks begging for confirmation. Within 30 seconds, social media exploded. Hashtag Trump walks off, hashtag Global Showdown, hashtag Amira versus Trump. In the studio, Amira stayed in her seat, hands folded, breathing steady. Her producer's voice buzzed in her earpiece, trembling. "Amira, we're cutting to filler after break. Just stay calm. Legal's on the line." "I am calm," she replied quietly. "He isn't." Behind the cameras, a stagehand pointed toward the hallway. "He's still here," she mouthed. Trump hadn't left the building. He was pacing the corridor, surrounded by his aides, face flushed with fury. "That was a trap," he barked. "She ambushed me. I'm not letting this stand." His press secretary tried to reason with him. "Sir, let's leave now. We'll issue a statement, spin it. If you go back, it's risk." Trump turned sharply. "Risk? I am the story." He yanked off his overcoat, straightened his tie, and walked back toward the studio doors. Inside, the countdown to live resumed. 30 seconds, the floor manager called out. Amira glanced at her notes, then at the empty chair across from her. She had no idea he was coming back. The red light blinked on. She began calmly, "Welcome back to Global News World Live. Earlier, our discussion with former President Donald Trump concluded unexpectedly." The studio door burst open. Gasps erupted from the crew. Trump strode back onto the set, uninvited, untethered, unfiltered. His lapel mic was gone, but his voice carried like thunder. "I didn't walk out," he declared. "I left because I won't be disrespected by a biased journalist pretending to be global truth." The room froze. Amira didn't even turn her head. She simply looked up from her notes. "Mr. Trump," she said, voice low but steady, "we're live." "I know," he said, stepping closer to the desk. "But let the world see how unfair this is." The control room exploded with shouts. "Keep rolling. Do not cut." Trump leaned over the desk, hands planted on the glass. "You think you can corner me? I built empires before you learned how to hold a microphone." Amira stood, matching his height, her calm like a blade. "This isn't about empires, Mr. Trump. It's about answers." He laughed coldly. "Answers? I've given more answers than any leader in history. You just don't like them." Amira took one small step closer. "Then give one more." He blinked. "What?" "Give one honest answer," she said, her tone almost whispering but cutting through the silence like thunder. Not rehearsed. Not defensive. Just truth. For once. The studio fell silent. The crew didn't breathe. Trump looked at her, then at the cameras, then back again. His jaw flexed. His expression flickered between pride and panic. "Be careful," he muttered. "You're not ready for the truth I'd give." Amira's reply was calm and merciless. "Try me." For a split second, time stopped. The air buzzed with tension, with the collective awareness that something irreversible was about to happen. Trump pointed toward the cameras. "You want a headline?" he said. "You'll get one." And just like that, the red light above the lens seemed to glow hotter, as if it could feel the fire that was coming. The world leaned closer to their screens. The most powerful man on earth had just walked back into his storm. The cameras were rolling again. No commercial breaks. No scripts. No safety net. Donald Trump and Amira Khan stood under the relentless glare of studio lights, two figures framed in a battle that the entire world was now watching unfold live. The sound crew didn't dare move. Producers in the control room stared at their screens, whispering, "Don't cut. Whatever happens, keep rolling." Trump's voice hit first, hard and booming. You think you're brave because you hide behind cameras and questions? You don't know what it's like to be in power, to make decisions that change the world. Amira's tone was level. I don't need to be in power to recognize when someone abuses it. The words hit like a strike. Trump took a step closer. His reflection glared back from the polished glass desk. I made America great again, he growled. I protected jobs, crushed terrorism, rebuilt borders. And what did you ever do? Sit in a chair and judge men greater than you? Amira's expression didn't waver. Greatness isn't about walls or wealth. It's about truth. And the truth, Mr. Trump, is that you walked away from questions you didn't want to answer. He jabbed a finger toward her. You're twisting everything. This is why people hate the media. No respect, no fairness. She leaned in, voice calm but unyielding. Respect is earned through honesty. So I'll ask again, did that call happen for business or for policy? Trump's face reddened. You're unbelievable. You don't deserve to sit across from me. You're a nobody from a second-rate network trying to make a name off mine. Amira smiled faintly. Then why did you come here? That stopped him. Just for a second. Because deep down, he knew why. He came for control, for dominance, for the stage he'd once commanded so easily. But this time, the world wasn't applauding. It was questioning. The silence stretched. The viewers felt it, millions of people across continents holding their breath. Trump spoke again, voice lower now, more dangerous. You're playing with fire. And you, she replied, are terrified of it. A hush rippled through the crew. The control room director whispered, "Oh my God," she said it. Trump leaned forward, face inches from hers. You don't talk to a president like that. Amira's voice was steady as steel. Then act like one. The air crackled. You could almost hear the tension, the hum of electricity, the pounding of hearts. Trump turned toward the camera, trying to reclaim his power. This is what's wrong with journalism. No respect for truth, no respect for leaders, no respect for America. Amira didn't look away. Truth doesn't serve leaders. It questions them. The control room was dead silent. Not a word. Not a movement. Trump's fist hit the desk. Loud, sharp. You're fake news. You're all liars. Amira took a slow breath. Then prove us wrong. He froze. The challenge hung between them, invisible but undeniable. For a moment, Trump looked like he might answer. Then, slowly, his shoulders stiffened. You're not worth it, he said. He ripped off his microphone. Again, and the sound echoed like a thunderclap. The studio lights caught the glint of anger in his eyes. He pointed one last time. You'll never win. I decide the truth. Amira met his gaze, unblinking. No, Mr. Trump, she said quietly. Truth decides itself. The studio fell into total silence. Trump glared for one more heartbeat, then turned, storming off the set, this time for good. The door slammed. The echoes faded. Amira remained standing, eyes fixed on the empty chair. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just whispered into the live microphone. The seat of power always looks empty when truth leaves it. The director in the control room exhaled. Cut to black. And with that, the broadcast ended. The silence that followed his exit felt endless. Not even the hum of the lights dared to interrupt it. Amira Khan sat alone beneath the glare of the cameras, hands folded, the echo of his words still trembling faintly in the air. Around her, the crew stood motionless, some stunned, some in awe, none breathing normally. The red recording light was still on. They were still live. She inhaled slowly, gathered herself, and looked into the lens. Her voice came steady, measured, alive with quiet conviction. Moments like this remind us that truth isn't polite, and it isn't always safe. It challenges power, it asks questions that make even the strongest tremble. Tonight, one man chose to leave those questions behind. But truth doesn't leave. It stays. It waits. And it always returns. The control room was silent. No direction, no cuts, no commercial break. Just her voice, reaching across borders. To everyone watching around the world, Remember this moment. Because leadership without accountability is not strength. It's fear-wearing confidence. She exhaled softly and lowered her eyes. Then, finally, she stood and walked off the set, leaving the empty chair and the glowing light behind. Across the world, the reaction was immediate and explosive. In New York, news tickers ran nonstop. Trump storms out of international interview. In Paris, headlines read, Amira Khan faces Trump and wins. In Islamabad, trending hashtags read, #Truth versus Power and #Amira Khan. Clips flooded YouTube and TikTok, millions of views in hours. Commentators dissected every line. Some called her disrespectful. Others called her the voice of courage. But everyone agreed on one thing: they couldn't stop watching. Within a day, the broadcast had become more than an interview. It had become a symbol, the unstoppable clash between truth and power. Amira's inbox overflowed with messages. You gave us courage. You stood your ground. You showed the world that silence isn't respect, it's surrender. And somewhere in Florida, behind closed doors, Donald Trump's team worked through the night drafting statements, tweets, and denials. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't erase the image of that moment, the former president walking away, while truth stayed seated. Because in the end, it wasn't a journalist who won. It wasn't a politician who lost. It was something deeper. It was the audience who saw, clearly, painfully, that truth will always outlive power. The silence that followed his exit felt endless. Not even the hum of the lights dared to interrupt it. Amira Khan sat alone beneath the glare of the cameras, hands folded, the echo of his words still trembling faintly in the air. Around her, the crew stood motionless, some stunned, some in awe, none breathing normally. The red recording light was still on. They were still live. She inhaled slowly, gathered herself, and looked into the lens. Her voice came steady, measured, alive with quiet conviction. Moments like this remind us that truth isn't polite, and it isn't always safe. It challenges power. It asks questions that make even the strongest tremble. Tonight, one man chose to leave those questions behind. But truth doesn't leave. It stays. It waits. And it always returns. The control room was silent. No direction, no cuts, no commercial break. Just her voice, reaching across borders. To everyone watching around the world, remember this moment. Because leadership without accountability is not strength. It's fear-wearing confidence. She exhaled softly and lowered her eyes. Then, finally, she stood and walked off the set, leaving the empty chair and the glowing light behind. Across the world, the reaction was immediate and explosive. In New York, news tickers ran nonstop. Trump storms out of international interview. In Paris, headlines read, Amira Khan faces Trump and wins. In Islamabad, trending hashtags read, #Truth versus Power and #Amira Khan. Clips flooded YouTube and TikTok, millions of views in hours. Commentators dissected every line. Some called her disrespectful. Others called her the voice of courage. But everyone agreed on one thing: they couldn't stop watching. Within a day, the broadcast had become more than an interview. It had become a symbol, the unstoppable clash between truth and power. Amira's inbox overflowed with messages. You gave us courage. You stood your ground. You showed the world that silence isn't respect, it's surrender. And somewhere in Florida, behind closed doors, Donald Trump's team worked through the night drafting statements, tweets, and denials. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't erase the image of that moment, the former president walking away, while truth stayed seated. Because in the end, it wasn't a journalist who won. It wasn't a politician who lost. It was something deeper. It was the audience who saw, clearly, painfully, that truth will always outlive power. So what do you think? Did Amira go too far? Or did she finally ask what no one else dared to? Was Trump right to walk away? Or wrong to avoid the truth? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Backhand index pointing down, tell us, Team Trump or Team Truth? And if you believe that real journalism still matters, thumbs up, smash that like button, bell, subscribe for more untold global stories. And red heart, share this video with someone who needs to remember that courage isn't loud, it's honest.